You also mentioned that you're so interested in this intersection of like really what are the data sets personally that are leading to really exciting R&D, whether it's longevity, oncology, et cetera, on the personal point of view as well as an aggregate. And so I'm really curious, what are the data sets that you're using today, and what are the data sets you wish you had?
Yeah, the data sets are interesting. I personally, of course, apply all this to myself and then in the platform. And fortunately, I'm guided by a lot of very smart people that have given direction about what the scope of the data should be. So I've looked at genetics, my genetics, and I don't mean 23andMe. I mean, genetic companies. We use D-Analysis, but there's also other companies like 3x4. There's several companies that it's a one-time test that you can take that comes back and identifies risks in your genetics. These are known risks, they're published, they're scientifically proven in research. So things like methylation, things like collagen, things like fatty acids. It's amazing the array of pathways, let's say, associated to genetics. Now, with genetics, it's not a diagnosis, it's a risk. And that's what you're looking at, you're managing risk. The other thing, of course, is your standard blood test. Everybody goes and gets blood tests. And I've always, I've tracked my blood biomarkers inside of Epic because I've been using the same vendor for so long, same provider, since 2008. So I literally have all my blood biomarkers from 2008. And I've always challenged my provider to give me more panels. And my criteria was give me as much data on my blood that wouldn't cost me a tremendous amount of money with my insurance. So it was always a negotiation about whether you need this panel or not and would insurance cover it or not. And that's always a little bit of a battle, let's say, in standard healthcare. I was really happy to see Mark Hyman, he's one of the, let's say, leaders in longevity, provide a platform called Function Health. If you haven't seen Function Health yet, I've gone and gotten that because it's given me insight on my blood biomarkers that I never had before. And so this gets down to the principle of my health, frankly, is an engineering exercise. It's how much data can I extract out of my body? And in that point in time, comparing all my biomarkers to some, let's say, population or cohort, that's a good start. Although our population is getting more unhealthy every year that goes on, unfortunately. So those ranges are moving, which is interesting. And you'll see a lot of longevity clinics come out with modified ranges, which is optimal ranges. But what I like about Function Health is it does give you that comprehensive view, and it does give you that optimal range view as well. And again, that's another data point. The other data point is amazingly through wearables. I have an Aura, which I think is probably the most amazing technology in my life I've ever seen. I really do. And their latest incorporation of meals, as well as CGM with Stelo, is going to give insight from this little thing that sits on your finger that is non obtrusive, and you charge it. It's good for 4 days. My iPhone is good for 24 hours. This thing is good for 4 days. And it's amazing the data it comes back with. I've learned about the value of something called HRV. So heart rate, but heart rate variability is an important data point that gets captured with this. CGM, if you haven't done CGM, you'll be amazingly surprised, and it modifies your behavior. And I have to say, those two data points alone, HRV and CGM, have significantly impacted the decisions I make every day. So let me preface all of this data that we talk about with one thing that I don't think many people know. And that is that when you see somebody living to 100 and they smoked and they drank, you'll hear that, oh, okay, you know what, all this stuff is nonsense. I know somebody, who lived into their 90s who had bad behaviors. And, it's all down to genetics. The best science in the world says about 20% of your health outcome is genetics. 80% is life decisions. So you are absolutely in control of your health. The decision points you need to capture as much data as you can. To me, it's a balancing act to see where am I out of balance with all this data against optimal values, and then bring yourself into a balance. To me, that's the goal. Capture as much data, bring it into balance, and you will absolutely influence your health and longevity. And by health and longevity, I mean, it's not how long you live, but it's how you live those last 10 to 15 years. And I think that's incredibly important, particularly for a population that is getting sicker and costing more. When you see $4 trillion of healthcare spend, 18% of GDP, growing at 5.7%, you know, this is a problem that we need to get a hold of. So when you roll up the aggregate of a nation getting older, a lot of people, instead of putting it into Medicare, are going to be pulling out of Medicare. You have a high risk of, you know, just a tremendous number of demand on a system that's not going to take it. So for me, the engineering exercise is, as soon as you can, capture as much data about you as you can, and then bring balance. Because I assure you, if you do genetics, it provides insight. If you do My Function Health, and you look at the data and you watch the longitudinal data, there's value there. If you look at your sleep, your HRV, there's other biomarkers as well. VO2 max is another component that contributes. It's an indicator of future health. That's the type of data that you want to pull back and manage to. Because if you can't see it, you can't manage it. If you can't manage it, then you're guessing and hoping. And I don't think hope and ignorance is a good strategy.
Daniel, I agree. I think as a fellow engineer, I very much am thinking about, maybe I honestly have a hoarding mentality. I'm like, how much data is there? Can I capture it all? And once I have it, then I get stuck and I'm like, oh wait, what do I do with this? So it's great that you've walked us through a couple things to specifically look for.